Imagine the scene. You're on the corner of your street on a hot day in 1992. You arrange to meet your friend at 2 p.m. It's 2:25 p.m. and he hasn't shown up. You look around. You don't have a cell phone. You don't have WhatsApp. You can't send that quick message. Where are you?
You simply wait. And in that waiting, something interesting happens in your brain. From a psychological point of view, that seemingly banal moment was building what we call frustration tolerance, the ability to deal with uncertain, incomplete situations that are not resolved immediately. It was like exercising an emotional muscle that many of us have allowed to atrophy today. Those who grew up before the internet lived in a world where answers didn't arrive in seconds. You'd send a letter and wait weeks. You'd take photos without knowing if they turned out well. You'd record songs from the radio, trying to pinpoint the exact moment your favorite song started. Today, we live in the age of instant gratification. Any information, any answer, any pleasure is just a click away. Our brains have adapted to this, and not necessarily for the better. But what can analog generations teach us about emotional resilience, about patience? What about being present in a world that constantly pushes us towards distraction? That's what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes. Let's delve a little into the neuroscience of behavior. Sustained attention. When you were reading a book in the 80s, there were no notifications interrupting your reading every 3 minutes. When you watched a movie in the cinema, you weren't tempted to check social media in the middle of the show. This kind of behavior created something precious: sustained attention. The brains of pre-internet generations were trained for what we now call deep work. The ability to immerse oneself in a complex task for hours without becoming distracted. This isn't romantic nostalgia, it's neuroplasticity. The brain adapts to the environment. Today, studies show that the average person checks their cell phone more than 100 times a day. Our attention system is constantly being fragmented. And this has consequences: difficulty concentrating, anxiety, and even changes in long-term memory. Let's talk about something even deeper: who are you? Before social media, a person's identity was formed primarily within small, physical groups: their family, their school friends, their neighborhood. There was room to experiment, make mistakes, and rebuild their personality without it being permanently recorded. Compare that to today: teenagers building their identity under constant surveillance. Every post, every photo, every comment becomes part of a public portfolio of your personality. The search for likes and external validation creates what we call conditional self-esteem. You only feel good when others approve. Analog generations had something precious: psychological privacy, the right to be wrong without digital witnesses, to change your mind without someone digging up a tweet from 5 years ago. This allowed for a much more authentic and less anxious exploration of identity. Now let's talk about relationships, and here's one of the biggest differences between generations. Those who grew up without the internet needed to develop an essential skill: read people. You needed to capture the tone of voice, the facial expression, the body language. When talking to someone, you didn't have emojis to translate emotion, you needed to feel the emotion. This developed what we call emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and respond appropriately to the emotions of others. And also to one's own. Today, much of our communication is mediated by screens. We've lost nuances. An okay on WhatsApp can mean 1,000 different things, and we spend minutes analyzing whether the person is angry, being ironic, or just busy. This ambiguity generates anxiety. Think about the last time you went out with friends. How many times did you both pick up your phones during the conversation? How many photos were taken to capture the moment, but which, paradoxically, took you away from each other, of the moment? For generations that did not grow up online, the meeting was the main event. It wasn't just a backdrop for a photo. Being together meant being present, eye to eye, attentive ears, open heart. There is a psychological concept called full presence or mindfulness. It's the ability to be fully engaged in the present moment. This wasn't a meditation technique in the 80s, it was simply living. And here we arrive at a delicate point: the clash between generations. Many older adults feel empty in modern communication. They feel that conversations have become superficial, that young people don't know how to talk while looking each other in the eye. On the other hand, younger people feel anxiety in silence, in slowness, in the lack of constant stimuli. As a psychologist, my role is not to judge, but to understand. Both sides are dealing with different worlds. And both have something to learn from each other. I need to acknowledge something important. There is a coup that's happening. And I'm not just talking about nostalgia. Many people from analog generations feel they have lost something fundamental, a more human, less hurried, less algorithmic pace of life. They feel that connections were deeper, that life had more fertile silences, more space for creative boredom. This feeling is legitimate. Technology has brought immense benefits, but also psychological costs that we are only beginning to understand, epidemics of anxiety, depression, and loneliness amidst hyperconnectivity. But here's the crucial question: it's not about saying the past was better, the question is, how can we restore balance? How to bring the analog patience for the digital world, how to maintain deep attention in an age of distractions, how to grow real presence when we have 1,000 screens competing for our attention. The answer isn't to throw away your smartphone and go back to the 80s. The answer is conscious integration. Practical tip: intentional disconnection. Let me suggest something simple, yet powerful: moments of intentional disconnection. Set aside 1 hour a day without screens. It can be in the morning, it can be before bed. Have one meal a week without your cell phone at the table. When you go out with friends, leave all your cell phones in a corner, see how long you can stay present. These moments reactivate areas of the brain linked to creativity, reflection and self-awareness. They like little exercises to recover that patience muscle I mentioned at the beginning. We've reached the end, but I want to leave a message. It doesn't matter what era you were born in, whether you waited for friends on street corners or were born with an iPad in your hand, the human need for a real connection, silence, and presence remains the same. The human brain has evolved over thousands of years to connect deeply, to process complex emotions, to create meaning in silence. These needs haven't changed in 2 decades. The challenge is to not let technology atrophy these skill sets, a reminder that we can choose how we use the tools, and not let the tools use us. So I invite you to a simple reflection. When was the last time you felt truly present, without a screen between you and the world? When was the last time you were bored, and let that boredom transform into something creative? When was the last time you waited for something without anxiety, just waited? These experiences are still available. We just need to remember how to access them. Thank you for being here, present, with me. I'm counting on your registration, and please comment below if you are this kind of person.